Good day and welcome back to my channel. So I had some video issues, so this is going to be sort of choppy, but this is the final installment on the SU-152. As we left it, we were doing the chipping. Now it's time to get into the weathering, right? So we're just going to go ahead and crack in to some video I have on the weathering steps that I've got, right? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the tracks. Since the tracks are off, I pretty much hit it with a wave of wash. The first thing I'm using is this Vallejo brown wash. I sprayed the tracks this metallic silver color specifically because I just wanted that. It made it easier and it's going to actually give me a nice look when I'm done, right? So I hit all the tracks with this Vallejo brown wash. It's an acrylic wash. It dries quickly, but it gives me what I'm looking for, right? I want something that's not going to reconstitute. After that dries, I go back and I hit it with essentially Citadel's Nuln Oil. Between these two colors, I get a used and nice colored track. Now I'm going to go back and there's going to be mud and weather all over these things. You'll see that as we get near the end. But this gives me a nice color base for the track for what I'm after, right? So I'm content with that. So I go ahead and hit all the sides of this, left and right, and I get all the nice color down. Once that's dried, I go back with a pencil and I hit where the wheels would go and I scratch it up. Great. So then I set the tracks off to the side and I move on to the next, since this is pretty much what I'm looking for before I get into weathering. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this AK Light Earth. Now, I probably should use the Dark Earth, but this is an interesting little acrylic product that basically splotches mud into, onto your model. Now it's an acrylic, it dries fairly quickly, and it dries well, but it gives you a nice texture and a nice muddy, dried muddy texture, or dried dirt, I should say, on your model when you splotch it on here. So you kind of go ahead and put it where you want clumps of mud to go. Now remember, this is going to be late winter or late fall, early spring, that kind of thing, where there's going to be mud, it's going to be wet. Now I'm not going to cake this in mud, but I am going to give it a fairly heavy dose of the mud. And I'm just putting this where I want that texture to be. Yes, I know the color's off. Like I said, I found a dark earth later. This probably would be better in like a sandy or a more dry environment, but this will work. Because later I'm going to go back and we're going to treat it with color. But really all I'm doing is I'm putting it where like maybe the soldiers would have walked up on the vehicle, tracked mud, and then splotch a little bit, not a lot, just a little on the wheels, right? Okay, so I've done the chipping and I've put on the mud, right? So chipping is really light. I really haven't done much. And there we go. You can see little bits of it there, and really all I was looking to do was wipe off or to chip the paint, the white paint, right? And I think I need to come back over here and hit that with some white to clean that up. Maybe clean up some of this because I'm not really liking how that goes. Like the chipping back here, that looks better. And little bits around here, right? I kind of didn't want to, quote unquote, chip it all to heck because, well, these things didn't live long enough to be chipped all to heck. So I kind of just chipped around the edges of the hatches and so forth, and that's about it. I did give the back a little bit more abuse. Now the mud, I wanted this texture, right? So this stuff I pretty much put on just to get the texture, and then we'll let the colors come in as I do the oil washes, which is where I'm going next. So next up is the pin wash, and then we'll start this is where we're going to start the oils. So let's go ahead and get cracked in. Now, putting a pin wash is something you see all over the place, right? It's basic bottler's 101 for shading and picking out details. Again, billions of modelers in the Units tube. And I'm just following exactly the same process. I tend to use, my tube oil paints and a very, very loose mix of the paint and the thinner to let it run. And you just go in, you put it in around the edges and pieces. And I'm just zipping along because this is all you basically just put this really, really thin mix of oil paint and thinner and let it follow the details and pick them all out. Pick all the details out, and then you go back and wipe them out. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking a dry brush and just spreading it. Because the oil is still mostly damp, I can just pick it up and just move it around with a brush or a cotton swab. And if I need to, I can dip the oil or the brush into oil, but I don't have to. For the most part, we don't. And then it's just walking around the vehicle over and over, getting it to blend in. And you're just going for the shading that you're looking for. If you don't like it, wipe it off. If you want to add to it, add some more. And back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? So I'll do a little bit around the wheels, putting it in the joints. And I'm using black, I'm using brown. I find that black shows more, but it doesn't look dirt. It looks oil. So I will use both the brown and the black, and I'll mix them depending on the look that I'm going for. The black gives me more of a shading or an oily look, where the brown gives me accumulated dirt and discoloration. You also use like off-colored paint, and you can mix it in. So now I'm going back and recoloring the product that I used for the mud, and I'm using an acrylic wash, and I'm doing this on purpose. Essentially, it's faster and the color's deeper, and it's just Vallejo brown. And what I will end up doing through this is I'm mixing a little bit of the oil, and you see I'm looking to see which looks better. Does the oil mix or does the acrylic mix do a better job? And I'm finding that a layer of both. Using the acrylic flows quickly through this product now that it's dry, and then the oil comes back and gives it another layer of color, right? So this acrylic mud product that I used, the acrylic wash just follows that where it's applied, and it wipes off quickly from the plastic. And then I'll go back and I'll layer in oil to get the colors to harmonize. Now the last bit is to just blend in and make the colors soft and blend in with the shapes of the model. Alright, so I let the acrylic wash dry, and now I'm going back and I am mixing the oil washes that I have with some of the acrylic work. Now I mentioned earlier, like I said, that a combination of both the oils and the acrylics gave me the colors I was after, and that's exactly what you see here. Now you can see that the more that there's medium, that the oil will spread. Now what I'm going through here is I'm doing oil stains, I'm doing splotches, I'm going to touch up the shading in the different places. And I'm also going to do some little bits of, I don't want to say modulation, but just make things look dirty and greasy. I'm going to add grease stains, and some dark in some places, some light in others, like you can see up there at the top of the engine cover and on the deck. And then I'm actually going to go back here where the exhaust is and really lay that in, because the exhaust gets, it sort of spews out a lot of that really oily waste, right, that comes out, and it's really, really greasy back there. So I'm mixing all that in, and then I'm just sort of picking the spots where I need that to go. And, it's a little darker, a little lighter. I'm mixing the brown, I'm mixing the black, and, just using oil like you would use oils, exactly to get the look I'm after with these, right? So we just go through this and work with that. Once that's in, we move to pigments. Now typically I'm using the Vallejo pigments. You can use chalk, but I have these 3 Vallejo pigments, and I have this other one which is I think an ammo, or it's an AK, I forget which. And essentially what I do is I put them on a palette, and there's a reason, because I'm not going to use the straight pigment. I'm going to mix them, right? So I put the red off on one side here, I put the yellow, and then I put this dark rust color, and it depends on where I'm going to go with the pigment as far as what color I want, right? So that really, really dark one I just put in there last is, it gives you that look of wet, right, or damp mud. And so what I do here first is I mix the colors, and you can see how the tone of the pigment changes when you mix them, right? And you get different shades. And it's just like blending. I pretty much did this just like if you were blending paint on a palette, right? Only this pigment's dry. So get the blend, get the colors you want. And then once I have a nice little palette of what I want, in we go. Stab, 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 right? And really, all I'm doing is, and you've seen how pigments are applied. You just sort of pop them in. You be careful about where they go because it's hard to get them off, right? Remember, a little bit goes a long way. But what I do here is I start work bottom to top and go dark to light. So near the bottom, it's dark. The higher up I go on the hull, the lighter it is. Each stab with this darker color will eventually give me, or it's going to give me a wetter look. Like you can see there's an oil leak coming out of that one sprocket space, right? And that's where I want the mud to be wet. So I'm speeding this up because this just takes forever. And as the higher up I go on the hull, the lighter it gets. Now fixing this is easy. You just hit it with some thinner and then that locks it in place. I don't bother showing that. I'm pretty much showing you just the mixing in the order that I do it. And so like here, under here, I'm doing it very, very lightly. It gives this very subtle softness to the paintwork, right? Even well blended oils have a little bit of a harshness, and this just softens it just a little, and it really adds what I feel is a nice realistic type look to what I'm after, right? And so, but be aware of the colors you're putting on and where you're putting them, right? So I wouldn't want like the dark color up top unless there was a reason for that mud or dirt to be dark. But here you go, right? So this is what we look for, or what I was looking for. So now that I've got this done, I put on the tracks, and it's time to pretty much button this up and call it done. So with the tracks on, I now have one more product to apply, and this stuff is really cool. It's textured earth. That's what it's called. It is a paste that has static grass or something like that in it, and it's really cool. It's again another acrylic product, and I'm not a big product person, but this stuff, I saw the Night Shift modeler using this. I saw Martin Kovac using this stuff, and I was like, I have to try it. And oh my gosh, it's awesome. And you have to use it in the right way, right? Be aware of like, where does this go? Like, I'm only putting little bits like on the wheels in the spots where it would still be there. Think about your scene. What is the story you're telling with your model? And make sure this stuff goes where it's supposed to go. Now, theoretically, I would think that as you're doing all your weathering, you're thinking that way. Like, there, I've got some of that goop piled up on the bump stop there, right? So that's where I want that to go. Getting this to stick's a little bit challenging because it wants to stick to your fingers, it wants to stick to your tool, and because I've got the pigments down, it doesn't really want to stick to the model. But with a little bit of creativity, it works. And I wanted to put this down after the pigments because I don't want this to get dry. I want this to have that wet look that it does come with, because this is going to be driving over a muddy road or a wet, damp road, and it's going to pick up these little bits of grass and mud as it dries. And again, now think about where you're going with this, right? I put little bits here in the front. Now remember these parts of the track, they've gone up along the top of all along the return roller, so any of that mud that had gotten on there is going to want to drop off here, right? So anything that's stuck here has gotten ground in, so think about it that way. I apologize, I kind of got out of shot, but I'm working on it, right? But then as I get over here to the back, now that's where I really cake it into the back of the tread, because that's where it's going to be. And with that, once I got all that in, I'm pretty much calling it done. So this is what it looks like. I finally got it finished. These are, the rest of this video will be pictures of the model. I did create a scenic base, and that would be coming right now. And that's what I had. I hope this series was helpful, entertaining, useful, gave you some ideas or tips. Please feel free to toss back some ideas, and with that, I'll say thank you very much. Critiques, criticisms are welcome. Happy modeling, everybody. I appreciate you. Take care.